Hey, everybody. It's Kathleen and Laura here. We're at the Joining in Light Devotional Center for the 90 Days with Jesus program, and we're doing our summary for week 6, Miracles and Magic. Kathleen's going to start us off.
Okay. Well, I've been a student of the Course in Miracles since the 1980s. And there are terms known as miracles and magic and willingness that come up in the Course. And I, after these decades, I really thought that I had a very clear understanding. I knew what these meant, and I just had made these assumptions. Until week 6 of the 90-day program. It gave Laura and me the opportunity to explore all over again what these principles are all about, and I'm very grateful. In the very beginning of the week, I was really struck by something that was presented very early in the material. It had to do with how Jesus says that the speed of the awakening depends on the speed with which you give me complete access to your subconscious mind. So that I can say, even though I've heard it, throughout the Course and whatnot, it just thrilled me. It just blew me away. The fact that Jesus would travel inside and go through every nook and cranny, every deep valley, every high mountain peak, under every little pebble, helping us look to see what was necessary to heal the mind. And that he will direct the whole process. You just have to be willing. So again, thrill. And nothing like doing the ultimate therapy program with Jesus, the ultimate healer. And there was a quote that we had that came through during one of the questionnaires, and I just think it should be slid in here. Jesus had told us that I will always be present 24/7, but I cannot interfere with your process home. Your willingness to awake signals my approach to loosen the mental latches and allow for some fresh air. So that was so very encouraging. But the more I thought about how this is so possible, that he can be there 24/7 just to help us with the process, I had a moment of hold on. But the more I started to think about it, because I thought, now, do I really want that? And I had a picture of seeing a room with a house rather, with 10 rooms in it. And I could feel how I was so willing to allow Jesus entrance into at least 8 of them. He could have them get cozy on the sofa, do whatever he wants. Here's the beds, full access to the kitchen. Yes. But I had to say, it was loud and clear, that sense of, wait a minute, I want to hold back 2 of those rooms for me. And that was humbling, it was sobering, but it also was shedding light on, have to say it, how much I don't want the miracle. I don't want the change of perception, because I didn't want to give over my so-called sovereignty in what I perceive to be my own kingdom. And during this week, we had many opportunities to look through that. and to feel it, contemplate it. But it was riveting to see how much I don't want the miracle. So, we looked at magic and what is magic. And one of the quotes that Jesus had mentioned as we were looking was, magic is anything outside you that you attach healing / redemptive powers to. You already have everything you need as an infinite being of light. Magic may act as a deterrent in this recognition, but it doesn't change the truth. You have but to remember and embrace who you are. And he had also mentioned something else when in the questionnaire, we were asked to show the ways that I use magic to avoid miracles. And he had said, with magic, I am not in the equation. You don't ask me, and my help is available day and night. It is your birthright as a son of God. Avail yourself of my help. So I have made a new commitment to availing the help that is possible 24/7. And I'm going to end right there. Oh, I have one more thing to say. I think that in A New Covenant, chapter 13, I could read that again and again and again. It's so contemplative, it's poetic, and it literally drips down to your heart, and you can just feel a sense of almost an opening flower as you read it. So recommended highly, and to read it and reread it and reread it. And Laura?
And to continue with those themes, yeah, it was a powerful week, as they all have been. And one of the things that struck me the most, because I talk about light a lot, and it's not always the easiest thing to describe. And Jesus had provided the following to Kay when she received something they call the crazy bubble diagram that really helps us stay in the light if we're experiencing any sort of blip, from the slightest blip to something bigger. And that definition is: miracles dissolve desire by releasing inner light. And I want to talk first a little bit about desire as I really reflect on these things, because our mind might go to things like, oh, I desire food, or, physical things, or different things like that. But Jesus is really having us look at deeply held beliefs about what we think we are, who we are, where we are, what is possible, why we choose experience, all the variety of experience in life, rather than the infinite being, the peace and the light and the joy of what we are. So in my own experience with these, as something arises in me, and this morning, or this afternoon, actually, we were looking at, I really felt an impulse to want to move, to get out, to go for a walk, or and I would call it, that was the desire to escape. So, I was just like, I gotta get out of here. We don't do a lot of getting out of here. We're very cloistered, so to speak, for the most part here. And so I went into Kay and joined with her, and was just saying how this can be such an impulse. It almost feels like it's an energetic build. It's almost like a Jack in the Box experience, and then you just got to go. You got to pop out of the Jack in the Box. And as we sit and we look at these things with relishing them rather than resisting them or saying, oh yeah, that's it, and just, okay, we figured it out, now on to the next thing. We sit there with Jesus letting him into the subconscious mind, as Kathleen was speaking of, and just sort of saying, okay, I'm relishing this. So on the flip side of the, wanting to get out or to move or to, do something that safety comes in movement, is what Jesus was saying, is that the feeling of trapped, and that they're the same coin. And so energetically, that's really obvious. But to the mind, the superficial mind, it takes some contemplation, some very contemplative experience. And then doing this with Jesus and letting him in, he's in there working. How that works, we don't spend a whole lot of time with the mechanics. I'm fascinated by the mechanics just because I feel very connected with light. As I think
she's a light master. She is. That's her first language.
But I have to sort of set that aside and kind of let him do his thing while I'm letting, easing and relaxing into the fact that these things are below my level of awareness, and there might be some resistance to letting him in. And oftentimes I can feel that there's like this layer of resistance before getting to that, the core of that desire around safety. And so it's very, very powerful. So the miracle is this, and having a conscious shifting of our awareness, shifting of our mind, changing of our mind along with this, all this part of this willingness, but it's a lot of effortlessness when we let the light, which is our true nature, Christ is all that is, what the Father created. And then we're part of that in our true nature. And then there's this filter that we're living through that, comes and goes. But when it comes, we know it. I do.
Right. Packs a punch.
Yeah. And that's what mighties are for. It's like, okay, we need to sit because I got to look at this. So it's extraordinary. And then what the result is, what I'm calling light baths. It was just, I noticed it palpably the first few days I was here, was doing this process, is that I started to feel like I had taken the most refreshing shower ever from the inside out. So I was just calling them light baths. And so they're just obvious. They're hard to describe, but you know it when you feel it. And I think everybody here
definitely
knows what that feels like. So, and then the speed of awakening, I was going to share on the same thing, is this letting Jesus into the subconscious when at first impulse, the last thing I want to do is join. I want to go for a walk or get a cookie or whatever it is. It's just like, let's look at this in a very calm manner and let that energy that's been very suppressed or diverted toward the ego experience free flowing, so that we are just radiance, and that radiance is just, it's extended outward, but it's also actually always here, but our experience might be that the light is just flowing through us and feel great or whatever that is. And and the magic piece, I'll just share briefly, that's a piece for me because, I very much enjoy the healthy foods and the supplements and essential oils and all these different things, which are fantastic. But to know that it's the light, the formless light, we already even have everything we need as that light. So now I'm doing more check-ins with even things that would have been my go-tos and my feel naturals, doing this and offering it to someone who's maybe not feeling well, or, it's just like, is this Jesus what's being called for? Maybe starting with you is, not maybe, but he's saying every time, start with me, because it's amazing what can happen with healing. So that's what I have.
All right. And what you have is always beautiful and always profound.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. If you did. I'll see you next week.